So yeah, I was a junior in college actually, so started kind of on the early side. Had read that statistic about 40% of food going to waste, and frankly speaking, was procrastinating because my alternative option was graduate school, and so I started skipping class and going to fields and farms and orchards instead of attending my courses.
And where were you studying, Catherine? I mean, to have access to all of that, where were you studying?
I was studying at University of Pennsylvania. So I was based out in Philly, and I was reading all these papers about the food supply chain. Coming from a biological background, what stood out to me was that we don't really treat food like it's a living organism, like what Shabazz was saying, is that we treat food like it's a commodity in the sense that it's static and lifeless, but the reality is we're dealing with produce, and produce has a shelf life and it operates the same way that other biological organisms do. And that really stood out to me considering that's all I knew at the time. And so started learning about food supply chain. I went and visited a bunch of farmers. One of the most incredible ones was Rice Fruit Company out in Pennsylvania, Gardeners. And Leighton sat me down and explained to me the entire process of growing an apple and bringing it all the way to the store. And it was incredibly fascinating. And he was super patient with all my silly questions. And then through speaking with a bunch of different growers and packers and distributors, began to formulate a concept around Strella. And then around about a year and a half into it, after a lot of the core pieces of the technology had started to be fleshed out, I met Jacob at a co-founder networking event.
Catherine, what year was this? Tell us more so that we can connect the timeline here.
It was 2018.
So there you have it. Strella is a baby, but a baby with so much impact. This is just the beginning, and you already have so much momentum and are already making a really big difference. So Jay, let's make sure that we talk now about that moment when you and Catherine connected at this co-founder event. I want to hear from your point of view how you and Catherine decided to start this thing together.
If anyone's ever been to like a startup meetup kind of thing, I always say there's about 2,000 scammers and maybe one or two cool people, and so you got to kind of sift through the crowd. But Catherine was, giving her again 2 to 3 wine pitch. I guess there's a trend here about apples, and I think I was probably the only other person in Philadelphia who knew who the apple growers were in Washington. And so I'd worked in cherries actually quite a bit with the same growers as apple and pear growers in the past at DuPont, and knew that these folks were very, very innovative and they were really, really interested in new technology. And Catherine was getting to really core challenges that they're facing. And so I actually left DuPont, left kind of the big company, and was looking to do something small. I always say, I want to be able to pedal a bike and feel it move when I pedal. And those large companies, sometimes it's really hard to see your impact or to make an impact. We had some really great technology actually at DuPont, and our customers are very innovative. They really want new technology. And so you've got to be able to put it in front of them. And we were able to do that. So that's why I decided to join Strella, is we had the technology to make an impact and the motivation and kind of the position.